Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I wanted to cover off a topic in the manifesting community around delusion or being delulu. Are you manifesting a specific person or a specific desire? Looking at your current 3D circumstances, or even hearing some critics or like people in your 3D reality telling you that you are delulu or delusional, or maybe some of you are seeing this as a term thrown around in the conscious manifesting community, like you need to be delulu, it's the key to getting what you desire. So I want to explain about manifesting, whether it's conscious or unconscious, and what this really means. And the term delusion that's thrown around, whether it's coaches telling you to be delusional, or whether it's critics and skeptics saying that, you know, content creators and coaches are making people delusional. And I want to break it all down and explain maybe like both sides of the coin and clear up the confusion when it comes to consciously selecting and living in the end and your preferred reality versus what, you know, some of society or people that are not conscious manifestors would call delusion or psychosis, or in some cases what some people call fake it till you make it. And I for sure want to emphasize to you guys why actually, in fact, nothing is delusional, and everything is accessible through your consciousness and your identity. You are, in fact, always choosing your reality minute by minute, and choosing to be the version of you that has your specific desires or your specific person or the preferred version, no matter how seemingly far-fetched or illogical, is actually never delusional. But it all ultimately boils down to a spiritual truth, and that is that you are the one that is choosing your reality, your experiences, and that is all based on your thoughts and your assumptions and you as the observer, your observation. So being delusional today by focusing on what you prefer is actually ultimately the key to having the experience that you want tomorrow, and the power is actually always yours. So guys, if you're new here, I'm Tulsi. I am a tarot reader and a spiritual coach, and on this channel I like to use law of assumption and manifesting with tarot to help you shift outcomes and get your desired results in your love life. So breaking it all down, when manifesting a specific person and shifting your reality, it isn't in fact delusional, but it is science or scientific theory and consciousness at work. So let's talk about how the moment you make a decision, your reality begins to shift. The second that you decide that what you're currently experiencing is not what you prefer, and you select a different experience with your consciousness, is when reality starts to change to deliver you what you want. The problem that people have when they're trying to manifest is they're looking to the outside for validation or proof, and they're not realizing that it is the decision that creates the shift, and every possible outcome or every possibility exists at once creation is finished. I've talked about that before. So when you've made a decision, your only job is to persist in that decision until reality reflects it back to you. So let's talk about, as I explained, that your dominant thoughts and assumptions is what is always being reflected in your reality. And where do we form our assumptions? An assumption is a belief that something is true before any physical evidence appears. This is exactly what Neville Goddard meant when he said, an assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. So most people don't realize that their assumptions have and are always running on autopilot from childhood, society, and past experiences, or friends, or just outside conditioning. And we create beliefs without even questioning them. And the outside will mirror those unconscious assumptions back to us. And we think it's just the way things are. Your assumptions were unconsciously formed, but you can now, as conscious creators, consciously recreate them. So you can deliberately select any reality you want by choosing new assumptions and persisting in them through repetition of thought, affirmations, visualizations, or inner dialogue, or even in just making a decision and persisting in that decision to be the version of you that has what you want. But essentially, you are training your subconscious mind to accept a new truth or assumption. And when you select that new assumption, the 3D world will and must reflect that in your outer experience. So manifesting is just about actively selecting what you prefer and deselecting what you don't. You are the creator. You decide what is true for you. The subconscious mind, as I've explained in other videos, is like the quantum field. Your subconscious mind does not judge you. It does not decide what is true, what is untrue, what is real, what is unreal. what is false based on anything you've experienced or even your present outer 3D reality or circumstances. It just responds to what you persist in. I've explained this before, that the subconscious is the field of infinite possibilities, where everything exists as a potential reality until it is selected by your dominant focus. This is why your preferred thoughts and assumptions, no matter how seemingly delulu or delusional today they may be or seem, if persisted in, must harden into fact. When you consciously focus on a preferred experience or say a version of a specific person, a relationship, or any desire, your subconscious mind takes it and begins moving everything around, people, circumstances, etc., to bring it into your reality. The 3D world will shift in ways your logical mind and 5 senses cannot even comprehend. You don't need to know how it will happen. That's actually just completely not your job. Your only job is to assume it's already done. Circumstances never matter, but this is where the whole debate around delusion comes in. One of the biggest roadblocks that people have in consciously manifesting is the belief that circumstances are fixed or that circumstances somehow have power over them and their desires. I've emphasized in many of my videos, guys, that circumstances of any kind don't matter and they are just a reflection of your past state, your previous dominant thoughts and assumptions. And you are not bound by what appears to be happening right now or anything you have experienced or perceived previously. Common examples of circumstances people continue to focus on when it comes to manifesting a specific person, an ex-back, or wanting a specific person's behavior to change or a specific person to conform, that's like a commonly thrown around term in manifesting community, is, but they blocked me, but they went with a third party or chose someone else, but we haven't talked in months or years. None of that matters, guys. Believe it or not, you manifested all of those circumstances from an old state or version of you with past thoughts and assumptions, usually from a place where you weren't conscious of them. I explained earlier how a lot of the time things are on autopilot. So just like you created them, you can uncreate them or recreate them. If you shift into a new state where you select new thoughts and assumptions, your external world, your specific person, everyone around you must adjust. The version of the person that blocked you, that's just one possibility out of the infinite. If you persist in choosing new thoughts and assumptions through your imagination and your consciousness, and you make a decision to have a different version of the relationship, the circumstances will shift and reality will reflect it. What seems delusional is only delusional before the 3D catches up. So guys, reality is not fixed. Neville taught that reality is not static, it's constantly being shaped by your consciousness. So what appears to be set in stone is actually just a temporary reflection of your past thoughts and assumptions. And the moment you shift your state and persist in a preferred assumption, the world must reorganize itself to match that. You manifest the circumstances you're experiencing right now, so you can change them. If you manifested a breakup, you can manifest reconciliation. If you manifested rejection, you can manifest being chosen. Every possible variation and every possible version of any connection or person exists in the quantum field or in your imagination. Since you unconsciously created the situation, you have the power to consciously create the new one. Nothing is delusional unless you persist in the assumption that the current circumstances are fixed. The 3D world is a delayed reflection. I've said it before, it's old news. It only mirrors what you've already thought about and assumed where you were dwelling, some of your fears and limiting beliefs, but it is your new thoughts and assumptions that must be reflected in your 3D. Your 3D is completely malleable, and once you have made a decision to have a different experience, it is actually from that point of decision already done in the unseen, but it will materialize if you can persist in focus. Manifesting is not logical, guys. It doesn't require external validation. If you base your belief on what the 3D world is showing you or what's logical, You're just reinforcing an old version of self and old circumstances, and the key is to assume that what you want is already yours. This is why Neville said living in the state of the wish fulfilled. Regardless of how things appear and persist, until reality will mold itself to match that expectation. So let's talk about where critics liken conscious manifesting and law of assumption to delusion or psychosis, etc. And a common term in conscious manifesting, which is important and is linked to embodying a state, is living in the end. And some of you have also heard about acting as if. When is this manifesting and when is this delusional? Let's talk about this. One of the biggest misconceptions about manifesting is that it means that acting as if is the same as faking it till you make it. And I would say that there's a difference between that, because truly living in the end is different to simply pretending. Pretending can sometimes feel delusional. Neville Goddard taught that living in the end means assuming the reality of your desired outcome internally, knowing that it is already yours, even if your 3D world has not caught up yet. So it is about a shift in identity and consciousness, but it's not necessarily about an external performance. For example, let's say that you're manifesting financial abundance. You don't need to go ahead with almost no money in your account and bankrupt yourself while you wait on being wealthy. You would create an assumption that money comes to you effortlessly and easily, and you will see that if you can shift into that knowingness, you will be able to manifest wealth and abundance. So if you persist in that state, reality will conform. So it doesn't mean recklessly spending everything that you have or lying to your friends about your finances. It just means shifting internally to a state of wealth and letting the 3D reality adjust accordingly, which, by the way, can happen very quickly, guys. Acting as if can be the pitfall, because if you are pretending, and this is something many people do confuse when they're manifesting, they can see this as a performative act and it can feel fake. For example, someone manifesting a relationship might talk about their boyfriend who doesn't exist. There are examples from teachers about setting a table for someone that you believe will be your husband, etc. But this can also create resistance or doubt, because people themselves can feel like they're faking it. The subconscious does not need any external proof or forced actions to accept a new reality. And the key difference between internal state versus external forcing or performance or living in the end is the internal shift. You fully assume your desire is already yours and the world will conform naturally. Your subconscious mind has access to all of the potential and will bring your manifestation to you in the most effortless, natural way. So in terms of manifesting a specific person, it could feel quite delusional if you are manifesting a specific person living in the end and you're in a harmonious relationship, but then you are spamming them, stalking them, doing drive-bys and trying to see whether or not a third party has left the building. This is trying to force the current 3D circumstances rather than living in the preferred end. So instead of forcing external actions, focus on shifting your assumptions and inner state with the knowing that reality must shift and will always mirror what you truly believe and assume. So I hope this clears up the confusion around manifesting and why it's not delusional. And there is a difference between being psychotic and delusional in a 3D logical sense and using the idea of being delusional, where you're selecting a reality that is existing already in the unseen over and above what you've experienced before. Your reality must shift according to your dominant thoughts and assumptions and the state of being that you're embodying. So please do persist in your desires. Continue to focus with intent on your preferred reality through selection of thoughts, and your dominant thoughts and assumptions in alignment with that state must materialize in your 3D. And nothing, guys, is impossible, and nothing, in fact, is delusional. It's only delusional until your 3D catches up. So I'm sending you guys so much love, and I will check in soon.